that are racing this weekend will have pit stop compensation. So, like you said, the number 22 of Tim Lay, they've got the 15 seconds extra. Then the 25 McLaren of Flack and Mostert and Heyman, they have 10 seconds. So, yeah, then there's a few more penalties in the Pro-Am, or compensation if you like. But is it going to rain? That's another thing to consider. So, will they need wet tyres? We'll have to wait and see.
Well, let's have a look at your starting grid for Monochrome GT4 Australia Race 1 here in Sydney. Quinn and Jakic taking pole for this. Incredible for that BMW, with Everett and Woods in second. Manif and Smoller from Method Motorsport starting in third, and Lay and Bircher in fourth.
Had a good chat with Tim Lay in relation to Bircher, and we'll talk more about that during the race. A country kid with a lot of promise, and he's very focused on his racing future. The name Brabham appears on our entry list once again, alongside a Studi for Love Motorsport. We heard there before, of course, with Stubbsy about the Seaton Gomersall new Mustang, another of those awesome GT4 machines joining this field, and the car that has kind of been one of the real stories for us in this championship, the Madeki Motorsport machine. From the get-go, it made a real impression and really impressed Ford Motor Company globally with what they were able to achieve. A breakthrough win, the first of its kind anywhere in GT4 competition. We're talking about George Miedeke and Ryland Gray there. Big field of cars here. It's, I think, arguably the strongest that we've seen in season 2024 for Monochrome Australia GT4. Really good. This class continues its growth. It's reflective of what's happening on the global scene. They're a little more, I guess you could say, user-friendly and certainly more cost-effective than their bigger GT3 cousins. And speaking of some youngsters who might be inspired, enthused by pretty cool sports cars, nice to have them along for the ride to watch the action.
And not that I have anything against Miedeke and Gray, who have been stunning in that Mustang, but Rusty, I am pretty excited to have another one on the grid, just to round out that horsepower deficit almost. But interesting to see some of these other drivers. We haven't seen Josh Buchan for a while. He returns in that McLaren in a stunning livery too, which was done by one of the Radical drivers from PBF Studio.
They were good in the build-up to the race here, straight out of the blocks, as you'd expect for Josh Buchan. There's one of a number of Porsches. I think the number of Porsches in this GT4 field keeps growing. Porsche Motorsport have had one of those cars on display over in the back of the paddock area, on the skid pan section, if you like. So perhaps even more of them are starting to make their way down under. BMW's been another popular choice too, hasn't it? So some real variety and some aspirational marks in this field, including the stunning McLaren.
Just been notified by race control. The track has been declared wet, so all lights must be on, and that also allows the opportunity to put the wet tyres on in the lane. So we've got the BMW of Quinn and the Porsche alongside him. So we've got, yeah, a German front row, if you like. But as you said, James, it's great that we have another Ford Mustang on the grid as well. I think that just shows that this category is going from strength to strength, and a 21-car field, so quite a nice field out there. But what's this weather going to do, guys? It's certainly threatening around Sydney at the moment.
Nice story too, the 16-year-old Lachlan Evanet joining TechWorks Motorsport in that Porsche 718 Cayman. That's a cool story for a teenager.
The youngsters that are involved on this grid never cease to amaze me with the pace, and Ryder Quinn is one of them too, lining up in first. The pace that he has been able to extract out of this BMW time and time again, Monochrome GT4, has been exceptional. He's driving alongside Steve Jakic, I should say, who's his stepdad. So some family debriefs, I'm sure, would have happened after qualifying. Pretty exciting to see them up the front, which is a little bit different. He has had some success so far this year in qualifying and in the race, but the Mustangs, to me, seem to be a bit of a wild card for Sydney Motorsport Park.
The name Bauer on the right of your screen there in the 32, John Bauer. He just loves his driving, doesn't he?
Not to be confused with Randall myself, but he is in a Randall racing vehicle. Yes, not a Tom Randall racing vehicle though, as we just see the weather graphics as well. And they're away for their formation lap, trying to get as much tyre temp and brake temp into these cars. With such cool conditions, guys, it's super important to get as much tyre temp and just temperature in general, gearbox temperature, engine temperature. And these cars haven't actually been on track today. They qualified Friday afternoon, so it's going to be interesting to see how they handle the conditions today. And yeah, like you touched on, James Ryder was super quick in his qualifying session yesterday as well. And the Ford of Mediki and Gray probably a bit further back than what they would have liked there in qualifying in P12, considering they were quite speedy last time out at Ipswich.
Maybe part of that story, George telling me in the lead up to this that they weren't quite in the ideal window from a tyre pressure standpoint. George said when he was driving the car it was enormously difficult, whereas they realised before handing over to Ryland in that process, okay, we need to get it back into the ideal window. So that might be the reason that they've been sort of hamstrung in the build up to this.
Well, and to add to that, Rusty, on a track like this, the nature of the corners, when the car is just a little bit out of the window, it really shows it on the timesheets. You know, you could be half a second or 8/10 off, but it could just be something so minor that can change that, because the way these corners are, turn 1, high speed, turn 2, a really long hairpin that comes back on itself, and then that whole middle sector being quite medium speed with the variance in track grip. There's so many different track surfaces, and this circuit gets used pretty much every day, night and day. So the surface gets thrashed quite a fair bit, and walking this track when I raced here earlier in the year, the marbles are very rounded. So yeah, you really have to work the tyres here to get the temp, to get the grip, and that can really chew up the tyres as well.
Can I just quickly give you a pat on the back for the opening of Saturday's race for supercars, because you absolutely crushed that into turn 1, into turn 2. You even, Mark Scaife didn't think you were going to hold on, but you showed an absolute masterclass, and I'm sure many of the drivers out there today will be thinking, how can I do a Thomas Randall through turn 1 and turn 2?
It's had a bad rap over times, but I mean, it's a great driver's track, this, isn't it? I mean, you know, the fact they've done the upgrades in the last decade or so, the lighting and so on, I think it's terrific.
It is. FIA Grade 2 circuit as well, so you know, it's got the extension as well that we don't actually use, but for a driver, it's got everything you want. It's got every type of corner, and we're getting set for a start here, Rusty.
Watch that blue and yellow Porsche on row 2 with Lockie Beneath. He'll be sharing with Shane Smolin, Method Motorsport, who also run the McLarens. They're a very good combo, and they have their eyes squarely set on the title. Young Ryder Quinn, the 16-year-old, Lachlan Evanet beside him. We are set to go racing, and immediately Beneath jumps to the inside, or tries to. Can he get by? What a shot, and he does. The Porsches 1 and 2 as they go through on colder rubber. Turn 1 for the first time. Big field of GT4 machines.
Here comes Bucket on the outside in the McLaren 2. He has got a flying start as he holds it around the outside. Those Porsches have absolutely swallowed up that BMW. Ryder Quinn dropping back, but he's trying to defend as we go through the turn 2 and 3 complex.
Buchan's trying to get this done here on the colder rubber. Look at him in the McLaren. Might sneak by Lachlan here, does big, and he kind of goes shallow or sharp into turn 3 there, or 4 I should say.
Buchan holding it around the outside of turn 4 there to have the inside for turn 5. That's the thing about this track. You could sort of, a move may not be done for a few corners. Ryder Quinn trying to go around the outside now of Beneath. That's tough to do around turn 6, but he might be able to get the switch back here, which he has done into Corporate Hill.
Mustangs on the march. Seaton is going with the Media Kit Grey car as they work their way around Corporate Hill. Now Beneath is defending here. The BMW's back in the lead.
And that looks like a problem on Brabham's car.
Left front, potentially some bodywork damage on the tyre, or hopefully not a puncture.
He's been losing some bodywork the last couple of corners just in the background as we turn our attention back again to the front. And here is Josh Buchan, who is big in the mirrors of Beneath. But Ryder Quinn has managed to get himself back to the front after being swallowed up in the start. And this is GT4 racing at its best, and we can look in the background there. Brabham will be entering the pits. The damage to the front left, we might figure out what's gone on and send one of our pit reporters down.
I reckon it's a bit more significant too. That shot is quite a distance away coming into pit lane, but the damage to the front looks pretty decent. So Manif eager to get on with it here. That big BMW in the hands of Ryder Quinn, making it hard for him at the moment. And this is all good for Josh Buchan.
And this is where he can go for a move down into turn 4. If he can send it in there, just can't quite. Quinn has managed to get the thing stopped, rotated. Now it's important to get the car, as he's done, back across to the right-hand side to open up turn 5 to try and get the best run possible. But I tell you what, Buchan is right on the back of Manif now.
And let's not forget, he is the man who has had on-track activity already today compared to a lot of these other drivers who haven't been out on track today. And will that be enough? Will that be worth it? That knowledge of where grip can be found, although the TCR race didn't have those mixed conditions that we've seen already with others. He is applying the pressure to young Lachlan Manif.
Double duties, as you said, 2 very different cars as he has a massive slide out of turn 8, going from a front-wheel drive to a rear-wheel drive car. Very different, but you know what's impressive? Mediki, up 8 spots here after 2 laps. So those Mustangs, they've come on strong at the start of the race, boys.
They definitely have. Aaron Seaton going with him. So this is a really impressive display in the brand new Gomersall iSeek GT4 Mustang. You can see them there. They're running 4th and 5th respectively. Quinn gets a chance to stretch the legs here. Into 1. The Mercedes GT4 versus the BMW. Tim Lay is busy at the moment.
And Buchan has gone from looking ahead to looking in that mirror.
Mustangs are coming, aren't they? Yeah.
And we've seen this time and time again in Monochrome GT4 racing here in 2024 for Shannon Speed Series. These Mustangs are super powerful. They made a massive splash at Phillip Island earlier in the year, and they're going to do so again. And we had, didn't we, last time around in Queensland Raceway, some Mustang on McLaren action as Josh Buchan sends it down the inside of Manif. He gets it done in a car that's livery is apparently based off a rare chameleon. Well, he'll be very happy to be hiding away now in second as he chases down Ryder Quinn.
He had to get that move done. There's an old saying, boys, pass or be passed. And that's exactly what Buchan has done there. Beautiful move into turn 6. And it's actually cost Manif 2 spots because both Mustangs have got past as well. And those Mustangs, like we just touched on before, guys, they've had a brilliant opening few laps, sneaking up 9 spots now.
So just keeping a watching brief on Tim Lay and Cody Bircher. He's on the move, as you can see there in that Central West BMW, and putting pressure on young Lachlan Evanet, who was on the front row for this race. Let's go to the lane and get an update.
Rusty, thank you. Here with the number 27 of Sam Brabham and Antonio Studi. They fired it up, it was about to go, but they weren't quite happy that the bodywork was clear of the new rubber on the front left. They don't know who made the contact yet. Sam hasn't been able to identify that for us, but as you've seen probably now back out on track, Antonio standing by.
Grandson of the great Sir Jack Brabham, no doubt. Sam's dad, David Brabham, watching on, but it's Quinn who leads the way from Josh Buchan, and Miedeke and Seaton are through, as you can see. Manif is in behind Seaton now, and Tim Lay's been able to clear Evanet, so there's been a bit of movement happening in this field.
Well, Tim Lay at the start had a massive moment in turn 1, a big tack slap. I was quite surprised and impressed that he hung on to that. So cold tyres at the start, it's a tricky one, especially when you're approaching turn 1 from a rolling start. So you've already got a fair bit of speed building up, and Buchan with the fastest first sector of the lap so far, not by much. Quinn and Buchan are trading times at the moment, so interesting to see if Buchan can chase down that BMW of Quinn, but it's been a great start for the number 26 McLaren, up 3 spots. Seaton also up 3. Evanet down 5, Lay down 2. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers at the start of this race, and I think that just goes to show when you mix the qualifying up, you know, the combined times, it creates an opening lap or opening laps like this.
Second of the Method Motorsport McLarens we were having a look at there a moment ago, the pink and blue machine. As we go into turn 1, and Chaz Mostert, of course, a part owner of that, a very proud part owner of that operation. And if we get an interview with him during this race, we'll be lucky, because he gets quite focused, doesn't he? He gets quite serious about it all. So.
And no doubt he'll have the beanie on now whilst it's inclement weather.
seconds. The 25, the Marcus Black entry that we were detailing at the top of the coverage, with the standard 115 seconds plus 10-second penalty when it comes to our compulsory pit stop. And that window that Thomas Randall talked about before will open at the 35-minute mark, won't it? So we get a 10-minute window there basically to get those stops done.
Correct, and those cars at the moment are in P6 and P9. So at the moment it's going to be pretty tough for those boys because, as you said, Rusty, they've got those penalties in there at the moment in probably not in the contention for the win that they'd like to be. So I think the battle's going to be on for Quinn Buchan as well. But Quinn, car number 3, they've got a 15-second compensation time as well. So best thing that Ryder can do is to try and build a gap, try and clear the space that he can, using that clear air that he has in front of him.
A couple of car dealers in this field too, from proud motor racing families. You've talked about George Miedeke there with a very big connection through Andrew Miedeke and Ford up there in Port Macquarie. And then watching the battle behind Tim Lay here at the moment. Tim with the Central West Prestige BMW coming through turn 1 there at the moment. Now he is paired with Cody Bircher in this race, and people that have followed our coverage of the Shannon Speed Series will know of Cody Bircher. And I said to Tim, you know, just give me a bit of a summary on what it's like working with Cody, what you've observed and so on. Tim's been around for quite a long time, has raced in all sorts of different classes from as far back as Formula Holden and Porsche Carrera Cup and more. He's a good country kid from a working class family, no show pony, committed to driving and making it as a race car driver. Otherwise he wouldn't be in the car with me. Pretty simple.
I think that's the best compliment you can get. That's probably the best compliment you can get, Rusty.
Exactly. As only Tim Lay could deliver too.
And Cody just wrapped up the Super 3 Championship last weekend at Mount Panorama as well. So great for him to get these extra miles as well. And that car, you know, beautifully prepared by Ash Seawood and the whole team at Ash Seawood Motorsport in Melbourne as well. That's a great point you make. And there are a number of teams in this paddock and others that are on multi-duty with cars. I mean, Ash is running Dylan O'Keefe in Super Cheap Auto TCR, and there are some, I mean, Garth Walden, who is coming up in the Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia 3-hour a little later. We've just seen a little while ago the Radicals on track. He's got 7 of those cars here, 7 customers that he's looking after. Well, I was actually speaking to Ash during the week, so they got back from Bathurst Monday night, unloaded the trucks, reloaded them and sent them on Wednesday to be at the track. So not only are they running TCR and GT4, they've got cars also in Porsche Sprint Cup as well. So that's obviously wrapped up now. But yeah, he's a busy man, Ash. You'll always see him at a racetrack. Yeah, hands-on. And a guy who's come through as a racer himself, and he's a very hard-working teammate. And back we go to Josh Buchan, who, as the boys have been saying, is on double duty this weekend, not just competing here at the wheel of the McLaren, but also great start to his weekend in Super Cheap Auto TCR with that victory in the Hyundai before. Earlier in the week, speaking of McLarens, Bruno Senna was out here doing some laps with journalists under lights in the early part of the week. He, of course, and Thomas will know this, I mean, he raced in Formula 1 from about the 2010 to 2012 or thereabouts marker with Hispania, with Renault, Lotus and Williams famously, and he's been an ambassador for McLaren on the road car side now for something like 10 years. So a quick visit down under into Sydney for a few days, has gone to Melbourne and to Brisbane as well, so very cool. Couldn't have come to a better track.
Exactly, under lights, beautiful.
Well, this circuit is a very fast-flowing one and a bit of a driver's circuit, as Rusty's already mentioned. And I think we should go for a lap with Josh Buchan as best as we can, with a man who knows this circuit better than anyone else on this desk. Tom Randall, let's go for one, shall we?
Thank you. Heading down to turn 1 here, the top speed, probably about 230, 240, maybe 250. Light tap on the brake into turn 1 just to settle the nose down, get the front down to tip it in, but you don't want too much brake to unsettle the rear. Turn 2, one of the heaviest braking on the calendar, or on the track, should I say, beg your pardon. Double apex here to try and get a really smooth run off into turn 3. You need to have a little lift to get the nose into 3. You would have seen that bump there as he goes around 3 over the bridge, or the tunnel if you like, into turn 4. Off camber here at 4. This is where the best grip, should I say, surface begins. Turn 5, back onto quite a good surface. Got to be careful of track limits out of turn 5. Really easy to go over the yellow line there. Now braking, you might have just seen that change in track surface. Back to a not so great track surface, turn 6. Trying to get the car stopped, rotated, and get a nice exit off turn 7, Corporate Hill. This is actually blind on approach. A little bit of a tap of the brake, or maybe just a lift for these cars. And you'll see to turn 8, Bucket keeps the car fairly in the middle of the track and turns it in early. There's a bit of camber into turn 8, really important to get the car rotated there and get a nice throttle ramp off 8. Now, a long run down into turn 9. This is tricky. You've got a lot of lateral load on here around the right-hander. You're braking, and then you've got to turn the car back across over the turn 11 curb, or turn 10 curb, and then the last corner, turn 11. This is the most important exit on the track because it is the longest run. This is the main straight down to turn 1. So there's a lap, folks, of Sydney Motorsport Park, and that car's got to do another 41 minutes around that track as well.
And Josh is partnered with Jason Yu. It's the McLaren Artura GT4. Now we're going to take you, that description of the lap just then was by a master craftsman who's ordinarily at the wheel of the Tickford Racing Mustang. We're going to take you to another now who's been designing some special jewellery for this class of racing. I'm not talking about Chris Stubbs, but he is with the master jeweller in Mark Cottrell.
I was going to say, yeah, I'm no good at crafting anything, but this man is one of the best in the business. Mark, Greg Russ there just detailing what you do when you're not racing cars, but what you've been crafting and what you've put on offer for this championship. Tell us about it and how the ring is coming together.
Yeah, the ring's a full custom 18-carat diamond ring, 18-carat yellow and white. It's got carbon fibre in it as well. It's actually got a set of shock absorbers on the back of it as well. So it's got there's a little bit of wings and all sorts of stuff in it. So I decided if we were going to do a championship ring, we had to knock it out of the park and make other ones look a bit ordinary. So we thought we'd do something quite special. So,
and it's worth a few dollars, I would have thought.
Yeah, it started out was supposed to be worth 12. It's probably gone closer to 20 at the moment. We don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to pare it back a bit. And then on top of that, we've got a BRM titanium chronograph, which is going off to the M champion at Bathurst as well. It's about $12,000 as well. So yeah, they're getting their money's worth, mate.
They sure are. You've got Jared Hughes alongside you in the Ginetta. You were just saying before, you're behind John Bow.
I think he's just got him.
He's just got him. There you go, because I was going to say that's one of the toughest tasks in Australian motorsport, getting past him. So Jared's going all right out there.
Yeah, Jared's the real deal. He's so underrated. It's just hard being a kid when you don't have money in motorsport. But like I've had a lot of Norwell boys in my cars. Trust me, he's got everything. And yeah, I own my car, and it's a very prized possession. So to put someone in, I've got to be pretty confident they're going to bring it back in one piece.
Your first time at Sydney Motorsport Park. What's your thoughts? Fast flowing?
Strangely enough, the wet qualifying at night last night, first time ever in the rain. And I said to my wife, I actually enjoyed it. And she went, were you scared? And I went, absolutely. But no, it's good. I quite like the track. I don't think it suits our car very well. But, you know, we'll do our best. So Jared will try and get as far up the field, and then I'll try and stop from going backwards.
Mark, always great to chat with you, and we look forward to seeing at Bathurst in a few weeks' time that beautiful ring in the watch as well. Congratulations and thanks for your efforts.
Thanks, Chris. Much appreciated.
Awesome.
Good stuff. Yeah, they're in the 750. So while Chris was talking away there, we can see Jared in action at the wheel of the Ginetta. Mark showed me yesterday on his phone some of the early design work of that ring, and it has an automotive, a motor racing flavour. I won't spoil it. I'll let him do his finishing touches to it. The timepiece is beautiful as well. And the reason that he sort of landed with Jared Hughes as the co-driver here was after consultation with Paul Morris, who does a great job at Norwell on training so many of the youngsters that we see. I mean, the two youngsters that were battling it out at the end of the 1000 last week in Brodie Kostecki and Brock Feeney had been graduates more or less of that awesome Norwell program. So Mark went to him and said, look, hey, what do you reckon? What should we do here? And Paul gave him a couple of names, and Jared he rated, understandably, very, very highly. He's ended up with the ride. But the other one that he thought that might be up for it, and that would have been a driver of experience, of Bathurst 1000 success, was to maybe bring Russell Ingall back to the game. But Russell's down at the island this weekend enjoying MotoGP. Meantime, these two are little bit of panel rubbing, nothing too bad. Flack, I think, will get the job done here, and that will mean that Evanet drops back into 10th spot.
Just as we settle in to what has been a fantastic race so far, and those Mustangs, as we've already mentioned and alluded to, are on the move. George Miedeke now in 3rd. 9 places, James. Unbelievable. Incredible. And this category, along with what we'll watch a little bit later on, and Australian production cars, all went to Phillip Island fairly recently too for the GT Festival. And Tim Lay dominated. Incredible results and outcomes for him. We were just talking about the Ginetta just before. Oscar Target from Team 19, he ended up getting 3rd in the second race on the Sunday at Phillip Island. So the Ginetta does have pace, but it also shows Oscar Target, who's just taken out the championship in Porsche Michelin Sprint Challenge Australia, shows that when you get into find talented drivers, so we just heard there from Mark Cotterill about his driver pairing, they can almost do anything in any car. And in fact, there was a young Thomas Randall in the very opening, you weren't here, the very opening of the show that was put together. And as Rusty said in that, this is a place, a breeding ground of young talent. It'd be great to see if we can get a freeze frame of young Tom Randall from that at some point in the next 36 minutes.
I'll be happy not to see that.
Okay,
I'm very happy with just looking at the coverage. But someone who spends a lot of time at this track is a guy by the name of Lockie Dalton, and he's in the 23 Mercedes GT4. So he was actually at Bathurst last weekend in the Super 2 Series. He's been contesting that championship this year with Tickford Racing, and it's great for him to get these extra miles in as well. And that's something we touched on a bit earlier, that you see these drivers. You got Hughes out there as well, you know, in the Ginetta. I think it's fantastic that they're getting a bit of cross-pollination, if you like, extra mileage on top of what they're doing in Super 2.
So this Porsche here with the Hampton Downs backing, that is Tony Quinn, who's currently in position 13. Now, he is the owner of the Highlands Motorsport Park, Hampton Downs, Queensland Raceway, and the Topor circuit where supercars compete. He's got an update to his book out as well, 0 to 60 and beyond, around some of his business success around VIP Pet Foods, Darrell Lee, and more. And that's his grandson leading the way. So Ryder is at the just up until then with the Mustangs, I think, with our timing updating. But Ryder, he calls Grandad on screen here, they call him Popeye. That's the nickname for Tony Quinn. So, and Ryder over last summer came over to New Zealand and had the chance to compete at some of Grandad's racing tracks over there as a part of the Castrol Toyota Formula Regional Oceania Championship that you know well, Thomas.
Well, it's funny, I was at Queensland Raceway a few weeks ago for there was an activation there, and I actually noticed in the cafe, which is something we might have touched on in the coverage last time out, was maybe they should rename it Queensland Raceway. And I'm not joking, on the wall in the cafe, it actually says Queensland Raceway.
Oh, yes.
I mean, they've got, congratulations, Queensland Raceway is back on the Supercars calendar, as it rightly should be. Great heartland there for the sport. That'll be huge next year, and the work is ongoing at that venue. We were lucky with the Shannon Speed Series to be there not all that long ago. We've seen firsthand the improvements that he's made there, and that construction work continues. It's on the improve for sure.
Manif's really struggling at this point in the race. He was able to get very briefly to the lead, and now he's dropped back to 6th place. And Lockie Dalton in that Mercedes GT4 is putting a lot of pressure on him now. So whether it's just not the pace that they would have wanted in that Porsche, starting on the front row, it's certainly probably not as fast as they wanted.
Bit of light flashing action happening.
That's an old driver trick.
Does it actually make a difference?
If you're the one flashing the lights, you want to think it makes a difference. You want to hope that you're distracting the car in front and letting them know that you're there. And we've got it in the supercar as well, the left paddle, you can flash the headlights. So it's an old driver technique, trying to distract the car in front of you. But yeah, Lockie's doing a good job. In 7th, he's moved up 1 spot. Marcus Flack up 3. But yeah, the biggest move forward, as we mentioned earlier, was George Miedeke, up 9 spots from a P12 start. So that forward's doing great. And just to touch on the Pro-Am field, John Bowers leading the way at the moment from Tony Quinn, who we were just talking about. It's about a 2-second gap, and those cars, guys, they don't have any compensation time. So the battle for the win is effectively that.
Well done, and it's good that you've highlighted the potential struggle here that Lockie Manif is having, right? Because they are top of the Pro-Am Cup driver standings, the point score coming in. So Lachlan Manif and Shane Smolin on top with 171 points coming into this event from Ryder Quinn and Steve Jackich.
And what's interesting, Greg, is that the pit window has now opened. So we'll have to wait and see who dives into the pits first to get their mandatory pit stop done and their driver change. And it looks like
here we go.
Let's go.
Oh, see, that was a bit of a trick there between the two Fords. That's a bit of a box opposite, as we call it. So Mediki's in, Lay's in as well, and McLaren of Flack, I believe, is coming into the lane as well.
So here we go. Strategy starting to play out now. And what happens on track and exactly where you are from the start of this race, as Thomas Randall has very eloquently outlined, doesn't mean really where you're potentially going to finish, with some time penalties, as we've kind of been saying, but some deficits supplied.
You've highlighted as we go to the lane here, and window wipers on, so that's something that you're keeping an eye on weather-wise, aren't you? Particularly with Josh Buchan left of screen, and even those coming into the pit lane. Now, the decision for Tim Lay to get this done, remember, they've got 115 seconds plus 15, the most of anyone in that silver class, right? But he is going to hand over to a good steerer in Cody Berger, isn't he? So
he is indeed, and Marcus Flack's just handed over the keys to Tom Heyman. They've got a 10-second penalty as well, so that's going to be 125 seconds in the lane for them and 130 seconds in the lane for car 22. That's on screen right now.
The calculation of the timing throughout the course of practice is really important, isn't it? To know that your numbers from the moment you enter the lane and that you exit the lane match and are as per what is prescribed in the rules here. Because if you come in under as you exit the lane, you'll get a massive penalty.
Correct. Now, the pit entry to exit loop, so the time that you spend traveling down the lane is about 31.5 seconds. So that obviously comes off your time that you're stationary for. So the crews have to work out exactly, you know, how long you need to spend stopped, and then the time it takes to get the car stopped in the box and the takeoff as well. But there is a few windscreen wipers being activated at the moment. So is this going to be a case of staying out for a bit longer potentially and just waiting to see, do these cars need to go to wets maybe?
And is that, I mean, this is probably quite an obvious question, right? But that is indicative also of the strength of the combinations. So if you have a scenario like a Tim Lay, Cody Berger, no problem at all. But the level of experience, with you know, with all due respect, you want to keep a Josh Buchan at the wheel as long as you can before you hand over to Jason Wu to kind of, you rather to maximise that, don't you?
Correct, but the only danger there, I guess, if there's a safety car and you haven't pitted, and then you could end up right on the bubble potentially of pitting when that CPS window shuts. Now, the CPS window is only open for 10 minutes, so it sounds like a lot, but the race happens pretty quickly. We're already down to over halfway through this race, so, and there's only about another 4 minutes left of this pit window, so it's going to be a case of, yeah, how long do you want to stay out for, and just maybe brave this little bit of drizzle. I mean, every car here, except for the Ginetta, ironically, is running the wipers, so maybe he's a bit more comfortable in the wet conditions.
A little lightweight rocket like this, probably a not a bad car to have underneath you in these conditions. So more pit stop activity happening here.
So Gilson getting in that car. Just doing a quick tyre pressure check as well.
Does that look heavier at once? So here comes the Smolin entry now, with Lockie Manif finally getting it stopped. And Shane's vastly experienced in these sorts of cars too, so he's competed in all sorts of GT and especially Porsche machinery, so good pair of hands for Lockie to hand over. Here comes this Ginetta again. Hughes is reveling here in the Mark Cottrell jewellery entry, dives down the inside here. Was he able to get it done? That's the Buckby Motors Merc up ahead of him, not quite.
As you've already said, Rusty, this lightweight rocket Ginetta, this is where these inclement conditions, things start to change around. And confidence is key, especially around this part of the circuit where the texture of the track changes. As we look now at the 27 entry for Love Motorsport, Brabham coming in.
Now, Quinn has built an over 8-second lead over Bucket, and that's in 16 laps, so that's a pretty impressive gap that he's been able to stretch out there. So it's probably not going to be far away that we see the leaders come in and take their mandatory pit stop.
And Janetta there of Hughes getting the job done on Evanet, who drops down a little further again. And strategy coming into play. You've both very well pointed out what needs to be paid attention to here. The timings are so important. And when these weather conditions changing, and we've seen already this afternoon, rain showers falling, and our spies on the ground saying that it is getting heavier.
I reckon that was Aaron Seaton pitting in the background there, was it? So we can see a car with lights on. I think that was Aaron Seaton coming in. Now, the Porsche that was on the front row, the 16-year-old Lachlan Evanet, I think is also in the lane, along with Lockie Manif. So a bit of pit stop activity happening there. Here comes Buchan. See that by that trademark white and day-glow yellow helmet.
Manif was in the lane just then for his CPS. We've got to add 10 seconds to that stop as well, compensation time. And what Quinn's done really well here, guys, is by stretching that margin out, he has the biggest penalty of all for the Pro-Am field. So 15 seconds added to his time. It'll be interesting to see where he pops out in relation to the number one, as Seaton, with the driver change, just jumping out and handing the keys over and saying, good luck, go get him. There's a bit of rain on the horizon. You're on slick tyres, hot slick tyres. So if there's any time you want to be out there when there's a bit of drizzle, that's when the time is.
Up into third place at the moment, Lockie Dalton, who followers of the Shannon Speed Series will know from Trans Am, has been racing in all sorts of classes, and he is in the Buckley Motorsport Mercedes AMG GT4, the silver car that we saw there before. And the reason I kind of highlight that Buckley Motors in Tasmania are our sponsor of the final round of the Bosch Motorsport Australia Rally Championship coming up later in November. The title will go right down to the wire there, and they're very much looking forward to having Rally in their backyard.
Still about 8 cars left to take their mandatory pit stop here, so I think it's going to have to be this lap that the cars will have to pit, I'd assume, because the CPS window's not going to be open for much longer. Jared Hughes just peeled into the lane in that 750 Janetta. What a great stint from him. I'm sure he would have had a blast out there, and that car, no pit stop penalty for them, so that's ideal. But looking at that AM field, Augustine, Quinn, Levitt and Rubus are yet to pit. The first AM car to pit was Jacob Lawrence, and they're down in 16th, but we'll just have to wait and see once everything shakes out.
So Mark Cottrell, who we were talking to before there in the lane, standing by, getting ready to jump in. Some of those other cars that Tom Randall's been talking about that are close to the bubble, getting in this time around. Be intrigued to get an update weather-wise from Stubbsy there too. It's quite noticeable on that concrete apron off the exit of one there, the wiper work going on. So is it worse? We might even bring Chris in if he's available into the conversation here. Stubbsy, is it worse? What do we think from a weather perspective here with the rain, or will it clear with the remaining just under 24 minutes to go?
Rusty, at the moment in the lane, it's not raining at all, believe it or not. So I think that's the problem with a circuit this large, that there are patches where the rain is still falling. And looking above, it's not a blanket cover. There are bits and pieces of darker cloud. I can see the sun, I can see blue sky as well from exactly where I'm standing. So it's patchy, difficult conditions.
Stubbsy coming up at the top of the hour with the weather and the news. Very good, mate. Thank you very much for that. And look at how busy the lane is nearing the end of this window, including Ryder Quinn in the lane. Thunder Buddies Racing is what they're entered as. The Janetta fires up. Steve standing by, ready to jump in.
130 seconds this car has to be in pit lane for. So the longest penalty, as we touched on, and there's Mark Cottrell leaving the lane to do what he set out to do, as he was interviewed by Stubbsy.
When you're in that scenario, right, where you're the driver handing the car over and the conditions are like this, are there last-minute things you say to them as they strap in, or they're already up to speed because they've been, listening in and so on?
look, I'd say they'd be up to speed. By that point, you're just trying to nail the procedure, driver change, all that sort of stuff. But given that you are in the pit stop for quite a long time, there could be a brief, small chat about maybe a couple of corners that could be slipperier than the others, but they have been watching for, I guess, the whole race, and they can see the lap times. They can sort of tell what's going on with the track, but there might be some time to have a small, brief conversation for us in supercars. You want to be getting out of that thing as quick as possible and changing over. You want to get the driver change done as quickly as possible.
Ryland Gray now in the Lurimax entry. This dominant Mustang, especially last time around for Speed Series in Queensland, had a bit of a tangle with the McLaren. If we cast our minds back, doesn't seem to be an issue for this time around. And Steve Jakic still waiting, and that time must feel like it is going forever and ever. Josh Buchan out of the car, Jason Yu in. So
that'll be all the CPS is completed, and as Ryder Quinn entered the pits, we did actually see a brief single waved yellow flag at turn 1, so I don't know whether someone had a little bit of an oopsie maybe going on the exit of turn 1. Very easy to do in these conditions, and what we touched on before with how the track conditions are varying, guys. On the exit of turn 1, there's quite a big exit ripple strip that's painted, so as soon as you hit that, that's going to be super slippery. Wet paint is something you don't want to be hitting as a driver.
You detailed before in the dry conditions the difference in the personality of the bitumen, right? What about when we throw in some water?
Well, ironically, normally the worse the surface parts of the track are actually produce more grip in the wet, because the way the surface is, the water actually sort of it doesn't sit on top of the road where it would.
In the gaps of the bitumen,
where it sits in the gaps of the bitumen when the surface is deteriorated. So normally when the surface is brand new or very, very well kept, it's actually worse when it's slippery, when it's wet.
Thomas Randall, James Baldwin, Greg Russ with you here on the screens of 7 as our coverage of Monochrome Australia GT4 continues. 20 minutes remaining in this race. Let's get more from pit lane. Here's Chris.
So, good go. Thank you. This is the Brains Trust here down at the Gomersall team, and joining me now, stepping in perfectly timed, is Aaron Seaton. Aaron, the Mustang out there, great to see a second one on the grid. First of all, you look pretty hot and bothered. It's a little humid. I noticed when you came out of the car that you sat down, need to get some fluids in. How tough is it and how are you?
Yeah, definitely. The Mustang's quite warm in the cockpit out there. I was having a good fight with George, so it was good to see the two Mustangs together. Yeah, it's really exciting this weekend to pair with Jason Domisel and bring the second Mustang to Australia. It's been a lot of fun. It's a very nice car to drive. So yeah, just enjoying every moment, and yeah, fingers crossed we can have a good race.
Aaron, you know the team well from your Super 2 days. How did this come about? If you look at the entry lists, your name is not on it, so it was a last-minute sort of thing that came together?
Yeah, we had a test day a couple of weeks ago and it was quite warm in the car with the Mustang, so Jace was just deciding on Thursday whether he wanted to do it solo or with someone. Obviously, I put my hand up and said I know a guy, but yeah, no, it's good to share with Jace. We've had some history together doing the Batter 6 Hour this year, and yeah, I love being involved with the team, and he does a great job with it all, so yeah, just excited to be here.
You've taken a back seat in terms of the driving part and the pun this year to focus more on behind-the-scenes stuff with motorsport. How are you finding it? Do you still get the itch? You still miss the driving, or is this where the passion is, looking at the numbers and the figures with the Brains Trust here?
No, absolutely, I miss the driving. It's good fun to be out there and you know, work hard at something and focus and put your best foot forward to be able to go and do your best times possible and keep improving the car every time you go out. So yeah, definitely miss the driving, but yeah, also enjoying the role I'm doing.
It's slippery. Just finally, the conditions, you've handed the car over to Jace. How do you think he'll go? What's he got in front of him?
Yeah, he's doing well. Obviously, he's got a lot of experience, so it's very exciting for him to be here.
Hey, great to see you as well. We'll catch up with you later.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stubbsy. Good timing as we see Ryland Gray in the Medici Mustang doing what he does best and taking command here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Through turn 1, there's a lot more water around the back part of this circuit, it looks like, from what we can see. Then on the other side, the Ginetta's trying to stay out of the way.
have to say, Jason Yu has actually done a very good job here in this McLaren in those conditions, and he held off. Ryland Gray, I think, has obviously been very smart here as well, just given the little bit of treachery, you know, the treacherous nature of the weather that we're confronted with here at the moment. So good work, but it is really starting to heat up now that we've seen those stops shake out. So Ryland Gray, your new race leader, with 17.5 minutes remaining.
And look out for Tom Heyman here. He has just passed you for second, and this is going to go down the wire because Heyman and Gray are in the silver class. That's going to be the battle for the lead right now. So that gap's only down to about 1.5 seconds.
Tom Heyman, who's also come through the Trans Am pathway, if you like, here in the Shannon Speed Series. But great opportunity with Chaz Mostert and the Method Motorsport crew here, and he's starred in this car along the way during the year along with Marcus Flack. And remember, they've had a decent penalty to deal with. So maybe in the weather conditions, what was it, 115 seconds plus 10, I think, for those guys. So good work.
Great work. Considering the 35, there was no pit stop penalty or compensation time for them. However, they did start back in P12. So currently leading with 16 minutes to go. Heyman up 9. And only, as you can see, less than a second now between the top two cars. Heyman on that last lap was 2.5 seconds faster than Ryland Gray. So that McLaren, in these tricky conditions, I wouldn't say they're full wet or full dry. I mean, we saw a few shots before where there was a bit of rain coming down and it's just moving around the circuit. But what they do have that's on their side, guys, is the track is warm, the tyres are warm. So we need a bit more rain to really spice things up, but that gap you can see on the screen is pretty close between these two.
About to take it to Chris Stubbs. Just keep in mind here, two key battles, right? Ryland Gray leading the way from Heyman. That's the battle for the lead. And Gomersall is closing on you in the background for third as well. Here's Chris.
Thank you. Just going to jump in here with Lockie Dalton, if I can. You were just talking about the tricky conditions, and Lockie, how hard is it out there? Because right now, as we speak, the sun's just starting to come out. This is wild.
Yeah, it is. It's really hard. I was coming into turn 1 like a baby, saying, let's put wets on. Then I'd come into turn 3 and it's sunshine and it's normal. So it's super tricky to judge. Luckily, these Mercedes and a lot of these GT4s, they have so many cool assists, and it just makes your life a bit easier, but it's still very sketchy. But yeah, have an awesome time. Thanks to Buckby Motors for having me, and yeah, hopefully Benny can put it somewhere decent.
Benny out there, it's an all Tassie affair, this one, isn't it? Keeping it all about the island.
Yeah, we're trying to merge that gap over the water. But yeah, Benny's doing an awesome job. It's only his fourth ever like tarmac race. He comes from a rally background, so he should be dynamite out there at the moment.
Hey, great to see you go up.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Stubbsy. As you were talking there, these two absolutely going at it. Tom Heyman now flying around the outside of Ryland Gray at turn 2. Can he make it stick? The horsepower of the Mustang helped him down the main straight, but this is it for the McLaren through turn 3, this mid-engine car. Heyman used to driving other cars like muscle cars, especially for Trans Am, but this totally different type of racing for him. He has total control over this McLaren. And he's starting to stretch now, a bit of a gap from Gray.
Ryland Gray has been excellent in that Lubramax Ford this year. Great addition with George Miedeke and that crew. He has really been one of the standouts of the Monochrome GT4 season, hasn't he?
Absolutely, sure has. And he put up a valiant effort over the McLaren. The McLaren being, you know, over 100 kilos lighter than the Ford. So it's a lot more nimble in these corners. That's where it's making up its time. But the Mustang certainly can stretch its legs on the straights, and that's sort of how Ryland was able to defend himself. And this here is the battle for, this is third position now. Gomersall down the inside of you. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you've got it. There you can see the McLaren in the background. That's bang on. I reckon that's Griffo in between, is it? Mark Griffiths. So, good work. Where's Griffo at the moment? We haven't spoken too much to him. Down in 17th place. They've got a good crew of people. The Cottrell Ginetta, along with Mark Griffiths' Mercedes. There's kind of 4 cars all pitted together there. And the atmosphere when I walked in on Friday, a lot of laughs and stuff going on. He's a popular character in this paddock, Mark Griffiths.
Just a touch on Ryland Gray. Last weekend, winner of the Super 2 round at Bathurst, the youngest ever at 17 years old. So pretty impressive from him. He's also in the Tickford Racing stable. So yeah, he's doing a cracking job in that Ford Mustang. Definitely put up as best of a fight as he could against Heyman, but yeah, that McLaren seems to be pretty impressive around Sydney Motorsport Park at the moment.
Another fantastic family in motorsport, the Gray family. Of course, Ryland's son of Jeremy, who is a former V8 Ute and touring car masters. With just over 12.5 minutes to go, let's go down to Stubbsy in the lane.
Well, you just mentioned about families in Australian motorsport, or say Trans-Tasman Motorsport. Ryder Quinn is alongside me. Ryder, the BMW out there, how was it in these conditions?
At the start it was primo, and then at the end, when the rain started to come, I bombed it in at 1, and then saw rain on my windscreen. I'm like, oh no, this is bad. But no, I mean, pace was really good. I think I had 8 seconds to P2 overall, and then 12 or 15 seconds to Pro-Am, which is nice. Now Steve's in the car. I mean, he's been quick all weekend. So yeah, let's just hope he can keep it up.
How are the family dynamics? The stepdad in the car now, he's got the job to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I really enjoy driving with Steve. There is a bit of rivalry between Popeye, Tony, and us, but no, they're in different classes and we all just have a big laugh.
Love it, Ryder. Go well. I've got to go to George Radecki behind you, but good luck for the rest of it.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right, we will spin on by. I'll turn around and just grab George Radecki. George, just having a bit of fun there with Ryder, another Australian motorsport family, but talk to us about how it was out there.
That was a wild first lap, mate. I started in 12th. I think I was 5th or 4th by the end of the first lap, and it was on, mate. It was on. There were cars left and right, and everyone was jostling for position, but no one touched anyone. It was really respectful, and I had a blast, mate.
Having a couple of Mustangs alongside each other is nice, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been racing with Cito for a long time, and we had a really good, respectful battle. He definitely had the tyres on me at the end there, but yeah, just to stick the flag in the sand for the Mustangs is a pretty cool feeling.
Guys, can I just say, we'll get Ben if he can just pan down. He's such a pro. He's been doing this so long, he knows to stand with his legs wide apart so that he doesn't make me look so short. That's why we love George.
Oh, beautiful. Well done. Well done. Now, while Chris was chatting away there, Tom, you've been having a look at a couple of the other sort of class results, and there's one that's caught your eye that's performed really well.
Yeah, Anthony Sewell here in the McLaren 570S. He's a new entry, and he's actually third in class, so he's having a ding-dong time out there at the moment in that McLaren. I'm sure he's enjoying that. Currently about 5 seconds off second place, and he's got a nice 7-second gap over Smollen. So yeah, I'm sure he's having a great time in that lovely looking PI Store McLaren 570S.
Beautiful. We've got a good variety of marques represented in this class. That's the great thing, from McLarens to Porsche 718 Caymans, BMWs, Mercedes AMG GT4s, and the Ginetta as well, which is a great purpose-built little race car out of the UK. And more than 20 cars for this round of the championship. GT4 keeps growing in strength, and some very, very good news in relation to the shape of the championship for 2025. Some good news on the horizon for them, and we'll talk with Ben McMillan from SRO in the build-up to SRO Australia, in the build-up to the GT3 race, which is our focal point of the night under lights. And I wonder if we'll get a bit of mixed weather based on what we've seen so far in this GT4 race. Imagine if we get that with the GT3s. That could make that one really interesting.
Something that's not necessarily fun, Rusty, is when it's raining under lights in the dark, and that's actually what the GT4 cars had to deal with in qualifying last night. So when you're racing in the rain, it's one thing, but racing in the rain when it's dark, I know the track, yes, is well lit, but still very hard when you're trying to race someone side by side in the dark. You can't actually spot their cars very well. And once you're side by side with someone, the headlights are well past the B-pillar, trying to work out where they are next to you. It's a heck of a challenge, and fingers crossed for the drivers in GT World Challenge later on, the track does stay dry for them. That would probably add an element to the race that no one would ideally want.
I'm glad our director, must be reading my mind, is focused in on the 24 here. This is Anthony Levitt in the second of the Method Motorsport McLarens, currently sitting in position 10, up 9 spots in this race. Good job. Sister car, or second of the Method Motorsport entries, if you like, to that currently leads this race in the hands of Tom Heyman. 8.5 minutes to go, just under.
1.8 seconds behind Jacob Lawrence. That's for the lead of the bronze or the AM class. So he's certainly hunting him down at the moment. At this point on this lap, he's already 0.6 a lap faster. So let's see what time he does when he crosses the line here. He's about 0.6 faster on that lap. So with 7.5 minutes to go in this race, we could have another battle for the lead here in the AM class between Lawrence and Levitt.
For me, there's a little question mark that maybe Chris is already onto, and that is Shane Smolin and Lockie Manif. Remember, they qualified up the front in this class of racing. Lockie was a rocket ship in the early part of this race, and then before he handed the car over, remember, it seemed as though he was starting to slip back a little bit in terms of his competitiveness. Now, right now, Shane is down in 13th, and he's a vastly experienced competitor in these style of cars. They've dropped 10 places.
This will be his 250th race start for Shane Smolin. And you're right, Rusty. In terms of how they've performed this year, they've been very, very strong. I think it'll be worth trying to figure out what has been going on in their Porsche 718 Cayman GT4. Beautiful car.
And a good combo. They've been great all year.
Solid, very, very solid. And as you said, I mean, he is vastly experienced from Saloon Car Championships, Carrera Cup Australia, now doing GTs, and teammate in Lockie Manif, co-driver, I should say.
Very good in real estate in a business sense too. Very, very good at business. Let's take you back to the lane. Here's Chris.
I think we're on the same wavelength there, Rusty. I've got Lockie Manif alongside me. Lockie, the pace, we're used to seeing you guys at the front as the leaders, but today just doesn't seem it's really in the window. What's going on?
Yeah, it's you know, I had a great start, which was cool, and cool to lead our first laps in GT4. Got a good launch, but yeah, just since then, just been really struggling. We come here testing the other week, really struggled, and anytime it rains, we've been awesome. We had a great practice one yesterday, and quality put the thing on the second row, and it's just anytime it's dry, we just, I know, can't seem to get our head around these tyres, and obviously we've got a lot of experienced guys here really trying to work it out, and I think we'll get there. It's just one of those tough ones, and obviously we've got a championship on the line, and sure made our job a little bit harder now, but we'll keep our head down and try and get sorted.
Lockie, we missed you. We loved having you in Super G Auto TCR Australia. The World Tour is back next year. There's a few cars around. What are your plans in the future? Where are we going to see you popping up?
Well, I've got an Audi for sale if anyone's keen for TCR, but yeah, really loving the time in GT4 at the moment, and obviously pleasure to join someone like Shane Smolin. So yeah, I'll be here as long as I can.
Mate, that is great to hear. We love having you. It's a big year next year for GT4. This grid just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Long may it continue.
Awesome. Thanks, Tugsy. Cheers.
While we were having a nice catch-up there with Lockie Manif, whose family's got a great history in speedway and things, there was a spot that Shane Smolin gained, I think, gained over Newman there, so that's up into 12th place. Now, there's the Buckley Motors Mercedes AMG GT4. So a quick look at how things stand in a class perspective. So Heyman leading this race outright, and first in terms of our silver class drivers, Gomersall in that brand new Mustang GT4 that he shares with Aaron Seaton, first of the Pro-Am cars. Just keeping an eye on this battle as it unfolds. And Levitt is leading the AM class. We were just talking, I think he's battling with Lawrence, so there's a bit going on there at the moment. Maybe the timing just updating. And that car of Jacob Lawrence, the one he shares with John Bow, so I think they're the ones leading the AM class at the moment. Can we just give a little shout out to both Zoe Woods and Dan Gillison for TechWorks Motorsport, currently 4th in this race. We saw that car in the lane before, and I know we've been focused on lots of different things unfolding in this changeable weather race, but they have clawed or chipped away and done a rock-solid job to be in 4th spot. Well done.
Absolutely, and that's a TechWorks Motorsport entry. They expanded to 2 cars this weekend and a pair of new Porsches, so excellent for them. 2nd in class at the moment. Great to touch on that.
Here's our race leader. Less than 4 minutes to go. No wipers now. Looks like the weather's settled for now. Production cars still to come on our coverage here on 7+, and then of course 3 hours of action with some of the coolest cars you will see. Headlined by Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia, powered by AWS GT3 machinery, Audis, Mercedes AMGs, and more. That's to come before we are done on day one. And we're all back, of course, from 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time tomorrow on 7 with another big day of racing. With 3 minutes to go here, can Ryland Gray, what are we talking here? Always more than 3 seconds. Heyman is just kind of controlling it. Looks like it's on rails at the moment, that McLaren, doesn't it?
Leading the way here, like you said, Rusty. Heyman up 10 spots for both the top 2 cars. Gillison up 11, Gomersall up 4. So that's going to be a double podium outright for the Ford Mustangs, the debut of the second Ford Mustang. So it's going to be a great day for Ford. Unfortunately, couldn't get the win, but that McLaren has just been too fast. The fastest lap of the race has gone to, at the moment, Ryder Quinn with a 34.9. And the fastest from these 2 leading cars was a 35.5. So, yeah, plenty of pace in that BMW when Ryder was behind the wheel, and that car currently sits in 5th place.
Chris Stubbs working exceptionally hard and on the same wavelength yet again, Stubbsy.
Well, you touched on it a few moments ago, Zoe Woods. What an outstanding job sitting right near the top at the moment. Zoe, how good was that out there, managing to handle these conditions when others are just falling back?
Yeah, definitely. It was tough conditions toward the end before my pit stop. Started to rain in certain corners, so it was really difficult, but no, it's been great. I've had so much fun out there. It's been fantastic.
So we were chatting out the back here just the other day. Obviously, Dad Rob's out there as well. I think at the moment you've got the bragging rights over him.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be taking that one home this weekend, giving him a hard time.
And Mum's out the back too. Astrid, it's such a family operation here at TechWorks. You guys love it, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. TechWorks is a family operation. We love it. We love having everyone around, and it's just all about family. Having my sister also do the logistics behind the scene, and having Mum and Dad in my corner has been great.
And the Porsche, how good is that?
Oh, it's fantastic. I can't complain. Like, definitely thanks to my parents for helping me and always putting me first, so that's great.
You say that, but you're running a pretty good business yourself, and now I know you're probably going to get a little embarrassed, but an award winner on the Gold Coast, explain.
Thank you. Yeah, on Monday night I went to an awards night for local business awards at the Gold Coast, and I walked away with outstanding beauty services on the Gold Coast. So yeah, that's what happens behind the scenes. Got to make money and go racing.
That's it. And it was a large number in that field. And you can hear, look at the reaction for the garage there. So everyone is loving seeing Zoe doing well on track and winning awards as well away from it. Well done, Tom.
Stubbsy, the reason they're cheering is because Gillison has been able to get by Gomersall to lead the Pro-Am class and to move into 3rd outright. So well done. Chris on the spot as that happened, as Dan Gillison grabbed that spot. So in that car that Dan shares with Zoe, who we were just chatting with, so up into 3rd outright rather, up 12 places, super drive and leading the Pro-Am class. Oh, off. Now that was Levitt, I think, in 9th place there. That car 2nd in the AM class, and I think he's just dropped back to 3rd. There you go. So Sewell, who we were speaking about so highly on debut, nice pick up there by Tom Randall before, up into 2nd in class now.
Yeah, pretty impressive. So I don't know what's happened there with the 24 car. I don't know whether he just dropped a wheel potentially into Corporate Hill there, but it seems to be okay. He's not coming into the pits, but yeah, the clock's counted down to 0 now. Heyman with a lovely drive alongside Mr. Marcus Flack. So it's been a faultless drive from them. Also with Ryland Gray and Mediki as well in 2nd place.
And it goes to show when you're not changing drivers that this is the very end of this race, the fatigue can set in. But this is it. This is the McLaren. Tom Heyman, who has been dominant over Ryland Gray, leading outright, leading the class, will come over the line to complete the final lap of this Monochrome Australia GT4 race here at Sydney Motorsport Park for Colour Spec Race Sydney. And this is a car that has absolutely shone under both drivers. Really, though, they have done an outstanding job. The Mustangs, they did march forward, as we were talking about a little bit earlier. It's McLaren, the mid-engine, the fantastic racing of GT cars. We can have balance and performance and all these different things happening. Makes it exceptionally interesting. We've seen strategy at play. We've seen rain fall and then get dry again. Different track surfaces. There's so much to consider in the cockpit of this car, and he's done an incredible job so far.
Well, guys, there's certainly been a lot of hocus pocus with the weather from this race. So I just want to get that in there. But
look at you go, word bingo. You've been at this commentary business too long.
Well done. In there, well done.
Yes, made its way in there. Anthony Sewell, just want to touch on, obviously he's moved up to second in class as well. So what a great debut in that McLaren too.
This car has had some consistency with its supporters throughout the season, with JGI, DePrinzio Concreting, who were with Tom Heyman in Trans Am, for example, and as a combination, Marcus Flack and Tom Heyman have done a superb job this year. Well done to Chaz Mostert and everybody at Method Motorsport for giving these youngsters a go. GT4, Monochrome GT4, race 1 at Sydney Motorsport Park will go the way of the McLaren. Congratulations, Marcus Flack and Tom Heyman. They take it out from Ryland Gray and George Miedeke. Now, what's happening in the background? Gillison and Woods are going to get it done, I think. Brilliant, up 12 places, and will win Pro-Am in the process.
An outstanding drive from both of those drivers. This is what racing is about, gents. Incredible when you consider the other performance cars in the field to get it done like that. Congratulations to both Zoe Woods and Gillison.
Here comes our leader in the AM class, Jacob Lawrence, that Randall Racing BMW. Another faultless drive from them.
With Johnny Bow.
Yep.
Another trophy. Does JB have any room left in the cabinet,
He'll
in
make
the
room.
house, in the storage shed? He'll make room. They will do it for our AM class. Congratulations, and it's a top 10 finish in that BMW as well. 7th place in this first race of the weekend, and the great news is we get to do it all again tomorrow. Another hour of competition in this one, but we are not done yet here on 7+ as Levitt crosses the line in the second of the Method Motorsport McLarens. There's the Smollen Manif Porsche. Need to understand the impact of that in terms of the championship for those guys, because they've been so good in Pro-Am. They did have quite a buffer coming in to this round of the season, but finishing a little further down the order. Lockie just describing there before to Chris Stubbs just the battle that they have had. So we recap the results for you here on the Monochrome Australia GT4 scoreboard. Flack and Heyman take it out by 5.3 seconds in the end, ahead of the Miedeke Motorsport Group combo in that awesome GT4 Mustang. Well done to Woods and Gillison. In the Porsche for TechWorks Motorsport, Seaton and Gomersall, they've got to be happy with that. What a debut in the second of the Mustangs. Awesome stuff.
Manif and Smollen as well did fall down a little bit in 11th, but Quinn game over in 12th. And we didn't see Camilleri out there due to some issues with the power unit. I'm sure hopefully they'll try and get it fixed for tomorrow. On all of the action to come. All right, let's have a look now at your Race 1 highlights for Super Cheap Auto Trade for Monochrome GT4 Australia, and it was on from the start. Josh Buchan was absolutely flying in his McLaren. And Manif, as we'd already said, got a fantastic start, but just ended up dropping down. And here come the march of the Mustangs.
The Mustangs were like marauding, weren't they? Working their way through the field. Here's Josh Buchan off the back of his victory in the Hyundai and TCR. We were confronted with changeable conditions weather-wise. Everybody having to drive through that, and some pitting early, others going almost the full length of the pit window. Around the outside for the race lead went Tom Heyman. Managed to get ahead of Ryland Gray, and from there was no stopping him. 5.3 seconds in the end, a victory to Method Motorsport.
Well, it's been a fantastic Monochrome GT4 race. Let's head down to the lane with Stubbsy.
Thank you, silver winners Marcus Flack, Tom Heyman. Marcus, congratulations. That's another important result for you guys. How was it?
I was good. I think, a pretty solid stint at the start, but Tom get in the end and get the lead and just pull away is a fucking amazing feeling.
Tom, he goes pretty well, doesn't he?
Yeah, obviously Marcus did a great job in the first stint to look after the tyre, and it really showed as I come out. And yeah, we had a lot of pace at the start of that stint and got in front and just controlled it from there. So it's good.
Celebrate it, and we get to do it all again tomorrow. We'll see you then.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to our next victors. Here they are. Look at that. That's a beautiful smile posing for the photos. Zoe, we just spoke to you, Dan, for you, mate.
Yeah.
Unreal, right? What a great job from Zoe to set that up.
Yeah, she did really good. Obviously, first did to keep with all the pros in the car. So, yeah, really, really good. That set the whole race up, really, and made my job pretty easy, actually. Just had to drive around and do laps.
So, when we were chatting to you a few moments ago, the cheers in the background, they were for you winning awards on the Gold Coast, but also because of this, look where you guys are, our first female winner in GT4.
Yeah, definitely. That was just amazing. And to be the first female to do it is just unbelievable. And to put it out there to girls, just get out there. And you know what? The car doesn't know who's driving it. And you could be female or male and we can do it.
Beautifully said. Well done, Zoe.
Thank you.
And we'll move on down then to our other class winners. I can't see John Bow anywhere. Usually when there's a microphone around, John Bow is pretty close because he loves to have a chat. Well, chat to Jacob anyway, because that was a pretty impressive day of driving there.
Yeah, thanks, mate. It was good fun out there. Had a bit of pressure on the back end of there, but the boys, the team, put a great car under me this weekend, and first time here learning, developing sort of how to tackle it here. It's great.
Well, that's the thing this team put together this year, John Bow coming on, and the amount that you must be learning, not just from him, but from the entire organisation, speaks volumes. This is well-deserved, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it, mate. JB's been pivotal in getting me up to speed and developing the team, and we've had a bit of a change-up lately, but great engineering team behind us this weekend, and we just kicked ass, which is great.
I knew he'd see the mic and come running. JB. JB, he goes all right, doesn't he? Well done to you.
He's fantastic. I mean, we got a really good little team. And it's like they're 12 months old, the whole team, so it's pretty good, and he is going ahead leaps and bounds, so I'm very proud of him.
And look at that, he's even got all the media savvy with the sponsors too, so nice work.
Troy made me.
We love Pirelli. Well done to you guys as well.
Good on you, mate.
And the result is all good for Marcus Flack and Tom Heyman in this championship as well. A commercial break here. More live from Sydney Motorsport Park on the other side of this.